Alright, what's up, boys? Got a special off-season edition of the Whatever This Is podcast. Wanted to show off the new site that I've been working on. So this is Claude Code Special. Data lake that we've been talking about for like years and years with fantasy data. So just wanted to, document, I guess, what it is, how it works, a little bit of like architecture stuff, and then like hopefully how you can use it just to put it out there. It is built on Databricks, as some of you astutely saw, that I included on the homepage because, I'm a hashtag company man, got to keep up with the branding. This is Databricks. If you've never used it before or never logged in, this is like the home screen you would see. But what we're actually running on is a free edition of Databricks. So if you ever want to learn how to play with Databricks, there is a free edition. You can go sign up. I can also add you to this. This is called a workspace. It's like basically like your account. I can add you here and you can click around in this one, or you can go spin up a free one. But this is where I built it in the free edition, which comes with like a set amount of compute every month. Or I think it's like kind of like a rate limit thing. Anyway, doesn't matter. Lots of cool stuff in here to see and do, but the basics is that our data lake for fantasy data is a legit data lake. So for any of the data warehousing boys in here, this should be very familiar, is that we have a bunch of raw data coming into tables, and then we have a set of transformations that are being done to get like a silver layer or a middle layer, and then we have like our gold level tables. This is like where the actual end user queries are going to hit, and in this case, end user queries mean like views connected to the site. The site itself is actually a Streamlit app, obviously, duh, it's in the URL. So it's a Streamlit app, which Streamlit is a Python-backed app dev framework, let's call it, that's very, very popular and has a ton of documentation. So even if you don't care about the data side of this, but you think you'd want to play around with like creating new pages or tweaking things, I don't know, if you just want to do like hobby programming, you can just mess around with the app too, right, without dealing with like the data in the back end. The app itself is actually deployed through Streamlit Community Cloud or whatever the fuck they call it, and because that's free also, so you can host the app for free on Streamlit service. The back end is all Databricks and it's free, and the front end is Streamlit and it is also being hosted for free. I've got some stuff in the like caching and the ways that we're like holding data and holding queries, and the app itself caches some data retrievals. So trying to keep usage low enough that we're not going to like run into anything. I don't think we're really particularly close with 12 people. Anyway, that's kind of the back-end architecture. There is a GitHub repo for this that I'm using as well, so I can add you to this, even if you just want to like click around or play with the code or like explore the code or whatever. It's all Databricks, and Streamlit is basically the stack here. Now, what is actually going on inside of the app? Basically, Sleeper has an API. I think we've talked about that before. And it's got basically everything you could ever want in terms of retrieving information for your fantasy league. So it's got, like league-specific info across seasons. You can get like user data. You can get transactions, so like free agent pickups. So this is where all the information is coming from. Basically, I have a set of jobs that will go and hit these different endpoints to pull all the league data. Most of this is going to update every day. All of the transactions, like things like trades, matchup data. So like whenever, from a Thursday night, we should see that on Friday, basically. Most stuff is going to update daily. There are a couple things that will only update once a week. So like, for instance, the reference player data, it's this like giant list of basically everyone who's ever played in the NFL. Not actually giant, it's only a few megabytes, but it just doesn't update very often. So like this, I'm only grabbing once a week, right? Because, Tom Brady's position is not going to change on like a day-to-day basis. So this stuff only updates once a week, but really it's just like being joined back into the roster data, which is really like the important stuff. So if somebody, gets like traded in real life between teams, it might take a little bit more time to update automatically. I can also go in and like, kick stuff off manually too. But that's kind of like the basics here. The actual transformations all live in, so this is like the set of jobs. The main pipeline here is what actually is like connecting everything together. Again, very interesting to look at here, but this is basically showing the flow of that raw data getting broken out into sort of like those intermediary tables, and then ultimately like the view layer, right? Like, so where you would actually run your queries against. So this is kind of how everything's basically in one big pipeline is how this runs. So that's kind of like the back end. Now, if we look at the front end, a couple things that I'll sort of call out just like as you're using it here. So the front end is like I said, it's a Streamlit app. It is connecting to the backend Databricks tables via basically like some Databricks compute. Without getting too far into it, it's a little warehouse that sits back here, and that is a serverless warehouse. So it's even in the name. What this means is that it will spin up and down automatically, like as we hit the site. So if nobody is touching this for, I believe, 10 minutes, it will auto stop. And then if you need to go run another query, it has to start up again. But it's serverless, so it should only take like, 10 or 20 seconds. But then once it's active the first time, it will stay on until there's 10 minutes of inactivity. So basically, like, we're reducing the amount of idle time by running this as like a serverless workload. Yada yada. It's just like a way to optimize things. But basically, the point here is that if you're like the first person to touch the website, that day or that hour, you might notice a little bit of lag. But once it's like up and running, you should be good to go. This will be especially true in the mornings because the data updates overnight, and then the app itself is configured to flush the cache on the front end after the update happens to the data in the back end, just so that we're not like serving stale data to the first people. Like you log in Tuesday morning or whatever, after the week has finished for that fantasy week. I want to make sure that you're seeing like the reflection of Monday Night Football and like the weeks tying out and stuff. So yeah, there might be a little bit of lag like Tuesday morning if you're, waking up early, first person to go and look at this stuff. But the more that we browse, the app will cache on basically like a daily basis. The cache in the front end will basically avoid unnecessary database hits until the next morning, and it'll flush. So yeah, just like little optimizations here and there. Now actually like using the site, probably like the stuff that we're actually interested in. Most of this is pretty self-explanatory. The way that things are aggregated and rolled up. The thing I'll call out on making this usable is that there is one primary filter here, which is like the season filter, of course. Basically over here on the left is like, I'll call this like a global filter. So most of the pages should adhere to whatever you've set in this filter in terms of like how you're filtering these aggregations to happen. Different pages might be slightly different. Like they might offer, a different way to filter things. But for the most part, I think we're going to be most interested to filter by the sort of like time dimension, right? To get like updated stats. If you notice anything that looks wrong or off, just like let me know and I'll see like what's up or if I can like tweak things. Like I said, most of this should be pretty self-explanatory in terms of especially like these counts and totals for the league history and whatnot. The ROI. I tried to do as much as I could to include like little snippets of like, hey, here's why this looks like this, or here's why maybe like numbers aren't tying out perfectly. It might just be like missing data, or like things that we purposely filter out. Like a lot of the dudes that were like on ESPN, I know I filtered out. So if we look at like total points against, just like as an example, and again here I think I'm hitting this for the first time today. You'll notice that like none of the ESPN only guys are on this type of a chart, and that's because like we don't have point data for them, right? So like it's only the ESPN only guys are only going to be in like the total wins and total losses, like win percentage, championships, average standing placements, because we did have that, like who finished first, second, third every year. All of that stuff has been factored in. And if you don't like the way it looks, you can always go filter down to the year, or filter down to just the specific platform era that we run on. So like even this, actually I might need to go look at, because this is saying that we start at number 7 here, because it's basically saying there are other guys above this that just aren't rendering in the chart. But hopefully this makes sense. But I might go look at how to make this this query run a little more cleanly so we get better rankings. Anyway, just like little stuff like this, feel free to send me a note or whatever, and I'll try to look at it. Lots of cool visuals in here. Basically, I just like scrolled back through all the different types of stuff we've like chatted about, and like nerdy metrics and shit that I've looked at sort of like ad hoc, and I just wanted to like make them more like more robust, more easy to work with. So most of this should be like, we all kind of know what an ELO score is, right? We know what the schedule luck comparison, we've looked at that with like the come wins and stuff in the past. So most of this you should know. I will call out though, last thing, are these spaces that I was talking about in our chat. So Databricks has this tool called Genie. It's pretty cool. It's basically a text to SQL agent. So you can ask a question like you would to know like ChatGPT or whatever. But basically these spaces know what data they're configured to look at specific tables in the back end. So depending on the space you're in, it's basically, it's not looking at every table in the data lake. It's only looking at like a subset of them, just to like be able to generate better answers whenever it converts your English question to like SQL query. So you do need to make sure that like for the type of question that you have, if it's about like league history or owners or whatever, you should be in this one. If you're curious about player data, of course, go over to the other one. And then same thing with like draft and waiver history, performance, whatever. These probably won't be perfect. Like the more crazy off the wall question you ask, it's basically like how hard is this to convert to SQL is really what we're is really like what it comes down to. But if there is like if you want to know about something regularly, right? Like basically I can go in and modify this. I can give better, link in better tables, or there's like this whole, like we can give it like a prompt basically to be like, if I ask about XYZ stat, here's what you need to do. And that basically tells this agent what to look for. So I'm doing sales on my day off here. But yeah, Genie is cool, but Genie does suck up some of that credit in the back end. Like I was saying, on the free edition of Databricks, there's only so much available. So if you log in, I have an incognito just because I'm not logged in over here. So most of the site should be open and available. Like, it's just, serving static content from the back end, and most of it's cached anyway. But if you're wanting to use this one specific feature, this is what you'll see, right? And then you just log in and use your email. So this is basically just to like limit the open internet from being able to log in and like flood this with a bunch of random questions, and basically like soak up all that credit that we have. But yeah, if you want to, you will have to authenticate, but I can basically allow authentication from any email that you have. So if you're wanting to do this at work all the time and you're logged into your work email, I can easily just like add that to the allow list basically, and you can write these queries from wherever you're at. But I think that's about it. Yeah, lots of cool features and stuff. If you're playing around with this and something doesn't look right, either like a number, like I calculated something wrong in the back end, or if like these filters on the side aren't updating in the way that you expect, yeah, just let me know and I'll see if I can get it fixed. But pretty cool project. I am trying to think of like what to put in here next. Probably the last big thing I am thinking of is a trade analysis type of chart where I can look at how were trades made and then figure out basically like who won the trade and by how much. So kind of like in the draft analysis, I'm comparing like these like value over expectation or value-based drafting sort of metrics that are figured out. Yeah, again, I can include, I think it's in draft analysis. Yeah, it has some of the explanations of these metrics, but doing like something similar for trades. Trades are a little bit trickier. You have to consider like, you traded me a good player this year for a less good player, but I wanted to keep that player as a keeper. And then I have to be like, okay, well, did that keeper value actually pay off in the way that you were expecting when you made that trade? So there's a bit more convoluted stuff going on behind the scenes, but I'll try and figure out like a reasonable way to make that happen probably at some point. But yeah, if you can think of any more just like, I don't know, cool stats, I'm down to build something out or to look into something, or if anybody wants to play around with this, like, yeah, come and try something out, right? I can add you to Databricks and we can have a good time building out more data. You can work on the Streamlit app, try out your vibe coding skills, see if you can get Streamlit to, like, this is not a particularly pretty site is probably one of my bigger gripes, right? Like, we need better, I don't know, organization, coloring, something to make this look a little bit better. But right now it kind of does the job. It gets out the information that I want to see. And yeah, I think that's about it. So anyway, check it out. Let me know. Yeah, if you see something wrong or if you have any cool ideas that we can like add on this as an enhancement. And I will see y'all in Mexico, I guess. Later, guys.